As a child growing up in the 90s, watching the Scream movies was really, really exciting, and mostly because it was that rated R movie that my mom did not want me to see. I had to go to a friend's house and sneak just to watch it. Once I did finally see it, I kind of became an instant fan. I just thought it was very alluring, it scared the shit out of me, and it had everything that I was looking for to rebel against my mom. Now here we are all these years later, and this franchise, like Ghostface, is just refusing to die. And I'll admit, I had extra reservations walking into this film. You'd have to be living under a rock or not going on social media to not be aware of all the drama that happened surrounding the making of this movie, which led me to be very concerned that this movie was going to be nothing more than a Hail Mary by the studios just to get this movie made. Is that what it ended up being? Let's discuss. In Scream 7, we get the return of Neve Campbell, who decided not to come back for Scream 6 because she wanted more money. So in a lot of ways, it felt like Scream 6 was passing the torch to this next generation, but we all were feeling that loss of Neve Campbell's character. Sidney has been around since the start. It doesn't feel like Scream without her. But nevertheless, she felt undervalued and like she was not being taken seriously as an actress. They wanted to not pay her as much as she's probably worth, especially as the star of the franchise. And although Scream 6 did do well, it didn't necessarily break the box office. But we had those new characters, so it felt like, all right, I guess we can move on. We can continue this franchise without Neve. Then came that Israel-Palestine conflict, which really made people feel a certain kind of way. A lot of people viewed what Israel was doing as an overreaction and also just as bad, if not worse, than what ISIS was doing. And one of those people that felt something like that was the star of Scream 5 and 6, Melissa Barrera, so they ended up firing her for voicing her opinion on social media. So Scream 7 had lost one of its main stars, and then Jenna Ortega dropped out, and then the directors of the previous two movies dropped out. So this movie was feeling like an absolute shit show from the start. So what do you do when you have a shit show? You go back to Neve Campbell and you say, please, would you come back? We are gonna pay you more money. In this film, we are getting Sidney at a much different point in her life. She's married with kids and has moved on from the traumas that plagued her. But then the infamous phone calls start up and she's quickly thrust back into that conflict, once again coming face to face with Ghostface, but this time there's a connection to her past. There was something pretty cool about seeing Sidney as a mom. It made me feel pretty old, but it also feels very appropriate. She is now the one patrolling the window, making sure that boys are not climbing through the window. It's quite the twist because Sidney was the one that had guys climbing into her bedroom, or Billy, not multiple guys. I don't think it was multiple guys, just Billy. But yeah, now the torch has been passed. She has a daughter. She's the one being the mother in this movie. And you can tell that everything that she's been through has very much shaped how she's going to be a mom. She's going to be very overprotective, right? She went through a lot. She's seen a lot of different people try to kill her over the years. It's going to create some serious trust issues. And I thought that kind of dynamic was pretty interesting. It really did add to some of the best parts of this movie. And I do think that the way the movie opened was really, really awesome. That scene, which by the way has been totally spoiled by the trailers, it did set the tone and make it seem like, okay, this is going to be a really solid Scream movie. I was really into that opening scene for sure. For the most part, it did continue that momentum, but at the same time, the Scream franchise has always been kind of known to be poking fun at the horror movie franchises, not to the extent of Scary Movie, which is a straight up spoof, but Scream was always meant to be exaggerating some of the cliche things that we see in horror movies, and now it's just starting to seem like Scream is becoming its own parody. Because the twists and turns in this movie are all starting to become pretty predictable. We walk into a Scream movie and we have a pretty good idea of what to expect. And this movie does not shy away from those obligatory cameos that are designed to inspire those member berries and that nostalgia wave that they are really hoping the millennials that are watching this movie will just eat. And I think that's where a lot of this movie's issues really start to appear. The Scream franchise really has not done anything to reinvent itself. Scream 5 and 6 did try to reinvent things by bringing in these new cast members, and I do feel like they were intending to pass the torch, but now after they got rid of half that cast, they are brought back to Neve, and that brings us right back to where we were always at the entire time. I feel like too many movies these days are heavily relying on nostalgia. Hollywood seems like it has run out of ideas, so they are trying to capitalize and reach us, the millennials. I think the millennials are the current target of Hollywood, and they're thinking, okay, what did the millennials grow up with? What can we do to make the millennials excited? Let's give them their childhood back. By the way, guys, we are not getting our childhood back. We are adults now. We are getting older. Nothing they do, they can continue bringing back these old franchises and bring back all these member berries and these nostalgia bait things, but it's not going to bring our childhood back, guys. It is just not not gonna happen. And Hollywood really needs to start moving on from this nostalgia bait that they seem really hooked on. I feel like this movie has plenty of interesting kills. Definitely some of them are very cheesy and over the top, as Scream has always been known for, but I don't know if there's enough about this movie to make it not feel like, okay, I could just go back and watch the original Scream. So that's why I'm not sure that this movie is required viewing in cinemas. Plus, when you go to watch a horror movie in the cinemas, or most movies in cinemas, you're going to be around a bunch of noisy, rude people who won't shut the fuck up while the movie is going. I was sitting next to a guy who kept pulling out his phone and scrolling, and I was thinking, God damn, that is some bad addiction you have, that you can't even watch a 2-hour movie without pulling out your phone and craving that dopamine rush. But maybe that's a sign that this movie just didn't entertain him, and that's probably a problem. So bottom line, this movie is good. It's serviceable. I think that fans of the Scream franchise are probably gonna find something that they like out of this movie. They're not gonna walk out feeling like they just experienced Scream 3. That one, I think everybody agrees, is the worst one. But I also don't feel like anyone's gonna be like, oh my God, that was life-changing. I am glad that I spent money and went and saw this in cinemas. So for me, I'm leaning towards this movie being a 6 out of 10. I was enjoying it. I did feel like it kept my attention the whole time, but when I thought about it more as I left the cinema, I thought it just didn't quite hit the notes that it really could have to truly feel like a fresh movie. It just feels like a rinse and repeat of everything that we've ever seen from Scream. At this point, I think I'm more excited to see Scary Movie 6, which, by the way, they showed the trailer for Scary Movie 6 with this movie, so that movie looks freaking awesome. Will Hollywood ever stop targeting millennials and trying to force nostalgia down our throats? That remains to be seen. But if you saw this movie and you liked it or didn't like it, go ahead and put your thoughts on it in the comments. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.